Hey gamers, today we're going to look at the river. Let's check it out. Setup for the game is very simple. What you're going to do is shuffle these two stacks of tiles and deal X amount out. You can flip this player board over for 2 players. This is set for a 4-player game. Anyway, you'd have your victory token set up here for buildings, your first place marker right here on this board. You'll shuffle this deck and put out 4 of these building cards here. Each player is going to start with a little boat with 4 little meeples on it, and then of course 1 meeple starting right here where the icon is for a meeple. And on their turn, this is simple worker placement. They're going to be placing workers around the board and getting resources to build buildings or take different actions. There are 4 types of resources in the game. They are brick, stone, wood, and turkeys. Turkeys are basically wild cards and can substitute for any other resource here. And what they're going to do is they're going to be moving around the board, and this is very tight worker placement here. As you see, there's only 2 spots for each one here in a 4-player game. First person to go there will usually get +1 brick, wood, or stone according to how many they can gather. How many they can gather is on their player board. However many icons you see is how many brick or number of that resource you can gather. So here I only have 1 brick icon, so usually I'll only get 1 brick, but in this case I would get 2 because I was the first one to place there. And the same can be said for wood and stone. For turkeys, however, it is unlimited. Now there is a limited amount of turkeys in the game you can get, but the space to grab them, you can't be blocked from. Now, also when you get a good, you also have to make sure you can store it in one of your barns. Everyone starts off with a number of barns where they can store at least 1 good, and from there on, they're going to have to grab some extra tiles to build across their river here to get more, bonus points or achievements or barns or whatever, whatever you want here. And let me just go ahead and explain that. Each player has 2 areas where they can always place. You'll never be blocked from the tiles, and also you can only get up to 2 tiles per round as well. Now you would take this tile and you would place it right here on the first track here, and it would go sidewinding back and forth around like that. Now each one of these tiles can do different things. Sometimes they just have extra barns or extra things of resources. So if I place that one there, I'd have an extra barn to store things. Plus, if I went and got wood over here, even without the +1, I would get 1, 2, because I have 2 icons here on my river. If I got one of these, I could cash that in or use that for 4 bricks at one time. This one here will just give me extra stone. This one here gives me a stone every round we're done, plus it's worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. This one that I showed you earlier, you can get wood, plus for any of your wood icons that you have, you'll get a victory point, a max of 3. This one, for every red tile you have on your board, you'll gain a victory point. They have these for any types of colors and resources. As you notice, the different colors are there. Why are the different colors there? Well, because there is another scoring on this thing. As you're moving and putting tiles across the board, you want to match the colors, let me move this here, with what's going on the 2nd and 3rd row, because at the end of the game that could be bonus points. So for instance, if I had, and I couldn't do this, I had to this all filled out, but if I had 3 straight in a row, let's say, I would get 6 points for every row I have completed like that. Or if I only have 2 of the same color in a row, I would get 2 victory points for each one I had. So a yellow would have to go here, a green could go there, and a red could go there. Again, you have to play these in order as they are collected. You can't just place them along any river space you want to. Now there is a space on the board right here where 2 players can go and they can switch 2 tiles. So for instance, later on in the game, let's say a red came out, but I already had put a red there and a green right here and a green right here. Well, if I wanted to, I could place my worker here and switch these 2. So that's what lets you switch 2 tiles on your board to help you out with that in-game scoring. Over here, of course, first person and only person to place here will get the ship, and they'll get to be first player for the next round. Over here is where you place to build buildings. Of course, you would have to pay those resources. You would get the victory points. You would tuck this card right underneath here to show that you've built the building, and then take the topmost scoring card here, which in instance would be in descending order. So the top one would be 6, the next 2 would be 5, then 4, 3, 2, 1, then eventually there'll be just 0 going through here, and you can build up to 5 buildings in the game. Another cool thing about this is when you build your second building, you free up another meeple to join your group. Hooray! However, if you saw on this board here, when your river gets down to here, you're going to lose a meeple, and then lose another one here, and then lose 2 more here at the end. Yikes! So you could really start losing a lot of workers too during the game as you're building or going along that river. Now, the round ends when everyone has played out their meeples. You'll withdraw them all, reset the tiles, deal out 6 more or 8 more tiles, depending on the number of players. You'll put out more tiles here. You'll wipe that, put out more building cards there, and then begin again with whoever is first player. You keep going until 1 or 2 things happen. Either someone has built all 5 of their buildings at the end of that round, or they completed all the tiles on their river. At either point, that's the last round, and then you do final scoring. Final scoring is basically any scores that you have on your tiles. Special scores, like I said here on this tile, for every wood icon I have, I'd get a victory point, max of 3. Or you could also score on how many you have matching vertically. Some of these are even halvesies. I don't know if I can find one here, but some of them are, 2 different types here. And if that's the case, here's one. 2 different types, it could count as either or. It really won't mess it up. So if I had one there and a red there, that would be 3 of the same kind, since this one counts for both types. So there are some halvesies in there as well. Anyway, you'd add up those points there, add up any of your building points, plus any of the bonus points that you got for that. And of course, for every 3 goods, you can cash those in for 1 extra bonus point, or turkeys. Gobble gobble can count as a victory point too. And of course, whoever has the most victory points at the end is the winner. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, I've heard in other reviews that people say this is really not that good of a game. It's a simple, it's too easy, worker placement, plain Jane, run-of-the-mill, forgettable game. And I happen to disagree. I think the board game is simple. I'll say that. It is simple worker placement, but the board is very tight. Building the river, getting those rows set up is very important. Trying to build buildings first to get the most victory points or get those bonus victory points are really good too. I think, and how the different tiles can store different victory points and give you certain actions in the game. I think that's really good too. The game has a lot of variety. Every time you play it, it's going to be something different. So I actually enjoy this game. In fact, when I heard it was simple worker placement, that even got me interested in it, because that's right up my alley for my nephews and my board game group. In fact, my nephews, when they saw it, they said, "What's this?" I said, "It's worker placement." They all went, "Oh, okay, all right." My game group was like, "Ooh, pretty. What's this?" I said, "Worker placement." They said, "All right." So we love this type of game. If you think this type of is it for the serious deep gamer? No, it's not. But I do think there is strategy again with setting those tiles down on the river. I don't know. So I kind of disagree with a lot of other reviewers, and I think this is actually a pretty good game. Also, bonus, it's really cheap to get too. So, all right, folks, that's it for now. Until next time, game on.